Hello, everybody. I told you back. Told you I would be back. Here we go. I told you all I will be right back with more mangas that are sitting at my feet. And I am back with, as you can see, Scott Pilgrim Volume Uno. I know many people call it Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Technically, it's not its name. And just because the movie done by, Edgar Wright. Sorry, I went blank on his name for a second there. Real quick, to give my opinions on Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I know I sound negative, and yeah, I don't much care for the movie. I think it's a visually stunning movie. I think it looks beautiful whenever it actually uses its colors to its advantage, uses some of its weirder CGI and some of the moments from the actual manga. Comic, that's a manga. For crying out loud, that's a freaking manga. The creator of it even says it's a manga. I think when it's using that, it actually really is a beautiful looking movie. I think the writing is terrible, and that's its biggest sin. There are so many jokes in there that just fall as flat as fuck. There are times when also I cannot care about Michael Cera. Pardon me. It does not help that his delivery is always very... Oh god, I'm so awkward and so goofy, isn't it weird? Ha ha ha. There's a point where there's a charm to it or anything. In this film, it does not work as well. And it does not help that they go out of their way to make Scott Pilgrim just this complete nut or jackass. And I get it. He's not a great guy. But there's never a redeeming factor for him, it feels. It feels like always the problem is Scott. And it's like, alright, this all could be fairly, easily dealt with in other means than, what you're doing here. It's like, we could just kill Scott and we wouldn't be that bad, right? Now, to talk about the manga, which I have to say, it's like I picked this up because I originally read it way back when. I kind of forgot about it, except for the fact that it made me laugh a lot. And that's the reason why I watched the movie and I didn't care for the movie all that much. I picked this up and was like, alright, I'm dreading almost picking this up. And I was like, alright, why did it make me laugh? And I remembered why. Scott Pilgrim's a douchebag. He is a douchebag through and through. I mean, you have a guy who is dating a high schooler because he's trying to get over, not really even get over an ex, but just trying to be, the cool guy who has a girlfriend. And he's, at first, unlike in the movie where they kind of really make it seem like he doesn't really give two shits, he's just like dating her just cuz. Here he's actually a lot more, like he actually is listening to her. He's chit-chatting with her about her gossip, dealing with her friends. And sure, he's still a dick. I mean, through and through, Scott is still a dick. But he's a much more lovable dick, if that makes sense. There is a lot less times I feel like I want to punch Scott Pilgrim in the face. There are still those times where it's like, alright, you just need a punch to the face, dude. But there's other times where like, hell, his obsession with Ramona in the comic is so much better explained, so much better thought out and shown, that he is not really sure what is going on, why he's just so entranced with her, and he kind of wants to write off and more worry about his relationship with Knives. And that is the other thing. I will still say Knives is she is just precocious as can be to the best degree. She is just this adorable, happy little puppy dog. And you feel bad for her, what Scott did to her. But in the same instance, you also still wish Scott would, eventually, fess up. But that'll eventually come along. We got 6 more volumes to go through. Technically, 7 if you include the 0 volume thing that happened way back when. And I will say, where I love the visual art style, where you use stuff obviously from the comic book, the kind of like blocky tech look and everything, it's used throughout here, and I actually really like that. It's that kind of blocky weirdness, it makes it feel very obviously comic booky. And that's fine. That's what this is going for. And sure, it doesn't explain why, one guy has superpowers or why Scott's able to actually fend him off with his own music or anything. But I don't need that to be explained. Not in something like this. I didn't even need it explained in the movie. I just thought it was... I was like, oh, well, that looks cool, but it's like, okay, well, it just happens. Okay, it just happens. And even then, like when Scott realizes he has to face off against the 7 evil X's and everything, like when he's reading, instead of Michael Cera just, oh, this is boring, like Scott's just, and I don't know why. In the comic, it feels like it's much more natural instead of just a guy who's just being a dumbass who doesn't give two shits about anything around him. And that's the thing. He's much more endearing. He's much more... You're much more forgiving of Scott's faults throughout the entire manga. Is he a good guy? No, he's not meant to be a good guy. He's meant to grow up. And that is constantly something that's being brought up. It's that he's immature as hell. And that's a good thing. That's good to be bringing up what your total character, what is he going to go through. And also, there's little nods to different little bits of video game. Beyond just like in the movie where it constantly had to hammer jokes at you about video games or about movies or pop culture. Here, there is homages to stuff, which feels a lot more natural. Now, I do know in the medium of movies and writing stuff, writing you can get away with a lot more without having to cross that whole copyright issue. Movies showing it is a whole other problem. That is the reason why I believe certain things work a little bit better in certain mediums. And that's the reason why this medium, for this little thing, works perfectly. I laughed throughout all of this. Some of the jokes, simply because I was not hearing Michael Cera's voice, because Michael Cera just is not Scott Pilgrim. That's the biggest difference there. He never once felt like Scott Pilgrim compared to what I read. And in fact, reading it, I decided to watch the movie again. Right afterwards, I'm like, that's not who Scott Pilgrim is. That's not how he would act. Hell, it's not even how he would deliver a line. I don't know. It's like one of those, like, y'all really miscast this badly. I mean, he has the look of Scott Pilgrim. He has none of the mannerisms, though. And I don't know why that is such a hard thing to get. Was it Edgar Wright's directing style, or it's Michael Cera's inability to be able to act? I don't know. Edgar Wright does do some fantastic movies. I've loved at least 4 of his 5 movies I can think of off the top of my head. And I don't know why that is. So, I know this has been out since, I want to say 2007, or even longer, I want to say. I know this has been out for a long time, but those who were like me, who were turned off by the film, like, oh my god, this is just somebody sitting there jerking off and splooging in your face of their own stupid, they're so smart stuff. If you were turned off by the film, or anything else you've heard, like the fact that he is a douchebag, you're like, well, I don't know if I can care for a character that's kind of a major douchebag, especially considering that next manga I'm about to talk to, the main character was never a douchebag in any sense of the regard. If you were turned off by that, never picked up Scott Pilgrim, I would say go give it a read. It's fantastically funny at points. There is some great homages to other comics, other mediums, other video games. Hell, there's an X-Men joke that I laughed my ass off for some damn reason. I don't know why I hit my funny bone at that time. And again, I think the characterization works a lot better here. I think the delivery feels a lot better here. Simply because you can put your own voice to it, especially if you can separate from the comics, which is actually pretty easy. Just because the comics have so much more substance, lack of a better term. But there's just so much more to them. They're able to put more of this stuff in there. And that's a good thing. I cannot help but recommend this comic, this manga. Pardon me. I mean, the biggest issue I can say is the first probably quarter of it. There's a shit ton of dialogue, and there's some witty stuff. There's some dumb stuff that's gonna be kind of but none of it is ever dumb where you're going ugh. It's maybe kind of punch you like, oh god, but they feel earned. Every joke here feels like it's actually being earned, and it's also not just splattering you in the face with jokes. It takes its time, tries to establish its world, establishes its characters in fantastic means, and on top of everything, it sets up, alright, well, here's what your character arcs are going to be, and that's actually a smart way of doing it, especially in terms of deconstruction of writing and writing tropes, in a way. Which is actually something I have to kind of applaud the writer of. And I know some people are like, well, it's been done before. It's like, it has been done before, but at the time when this was written, it was actually fairly less common than it is nowadays in 2019. So, hey, go pick it up. If the movie turned you off and you never wanted to read it because of that, trust me, this is worlds better than the movie so far. I will eventually get to the other 5, 6 volumes that there are, or 7 or 8 volumes. However, I think there's 7 volumes altogether, including that 0 one I keep talking about. I will love to get to them. I just need some time because it's hard to procure these because they have been out for so long, and it's hard to get reprints of them. That's one of my big issues I have with mangas. They don't really like reprinting shit a lot. Thanks, Japan. Actually, it's companies that are transferring it over and everything. But hey, go pick this up. This stuff's not Japanese, but still. Pick it up. It's fantastically funny. I think that anybody who is into nerd culture is going to actually enjoy it. Anybody who is much like Scott, in a way, they're not exactly a douchebag, but they are kind of a dweeb, is the best way to put it. Or if you're just a general lover of mangas and you love especially a good comedic manga with some good action, that is the one other thing I have to give this manga. Its action's really damn good. Like, it hits that right sweet spot of almost being Dragon Ball Z-ish. It's the best thing I could think of. To almost having some really good, almost Naruto-ish, or even also Bleach-ish. I know ish-ish. Those fights, I think, really feel like they are not lifted, but they're homaged here. And that's the thing, because I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that in Dragon Ball Z, though I wouldn't be surprised if that would be in Dragon Ball Z ever. So, hey, pick it up. Scott Pilgrim, fantastic manga. Really looking forward to the rest of them. So, hey, I have to finish this one out as well. But, hey, I have something else I need to talk about that I'm going to gush a little about. So until then, everybody, I'll see y'all there. So bye-bye, everybody.